Hi guys, back once again to do my usual Edinburgh record hall video. I'm still quite tired. It's been a long couple of weeks. I basically drove probably about 1,500 miles over 4 days, which is plenty. Not 4 consecutive days, but I had four days of driving. Obviously down to Edinburgh and back, and then from Edinburgh down to basically past London and back. So it's been but it was a great holiday, really good. And these are the records that I got. So we arrived in Edinburgh, and I had a quick dig round. Went to the usual haunts. I found this, which is a Griffin album that I didn't have. This one's called Treason. Still in beautiful condition. You can see how good it is. I've never heard this, so I don't know exactly what it's like. But it was their only album that they did for Harvest. I think all their other albums were on Transatlantic. So it'll be interesting to see what that one was like. I also picked this up, which is Paul Brett, called Earth Birth. I had his first album, Paul Brett Sage, Schizophrenia. So it'll be interesting to see what this is like. Again, this was a bit of a blind buy. I got it pretty cheap. It was on RCA. I think it was maybe like £3 or £4. So I'm pleased to pick that up. It's the first, well, it says here that the first suite for 12-string guitar. And two kind of jazz pickups. This one, which looked interesting, Live Mother For You, Billy Cobham. Have no idea what this is. It's a gold stamped demo copy. This was a couple of quid. It looked interesting. So yeah, Steve Kahn, Alphonso Johnson, Billy Cobham and Tom Scott. So could be bad. I don't know. If you know any of these, let me know. And this one, Klaus Doldinger. I have no idea. This could be one of those ones that is just terrible. But it was like $1.99, I think. It's on Amiga Jazz. Everything on the back's written in German. So I have absolutely no idea what this one's going to be like. But the guy playing the drums looks pretty cool, so I thought I'd give it a whirl and see what like. So that was basically my haul for the first part of the Edinburgh trip. So then we drove down to London, down to Kent, and went to London for the day. And I didn't have time to hit any of the London shops, but while we were there we went to an exhibition of at the Tate Modern. There was 3 exhibitions we went to, one of which was the history of the art in the kind of Black Power period of American history, and they had a whole load of records on display of the artwork from that time, but then also they had a few soul jazz releases, one of which was specifically produced to tie in with the exhibition, but I decided not to buy that particular one, and went for this one instead, which is Asher by the Lloyd McNeil Quartet. It sounded kind of interesting. It was one of these insanely rare releases, and I've never been a huge fan of compilations, so that's another reason I didn't go for the kind of one that was to tie in with the exhibition. But this looked cool. It looked a bit more interesting, and it was cheaper than the other ones. So this will be my first soul jazz release, but that was my only pickup from London. Again, we didn't have time to do anything, so then after we'd been down in Kent for a few days, another long drive back up to Edinburgh, and I managed to squeeze in another day of record shops, so I went to the ones that I hadn't managed to get to before, including one that I'd always failed to find, even though I'd walked pretty much right past it. Backtrack Records in Edinburgh, but I'll skip the Backtrack stuff for now, because that was where I got my two kind of best finds, I think, of the trip. But I went to the Record Shack and picked up an album that I'd kind of known about for a while, but I've never heard, which is Illuminations by Alice Coltrane and Carlos Santana. I've seen loads of people show Alice Coltrane records in the VC, but I've never heard any. And maybe this isn't the best place to start. It does have a bit of a scratch going across side 2 or side 1, that he says does make it tick a bit, but it was $3.99, so I just had to grab it, because I've seen people show this quite recently and they've said it's good, so this will be my first foray into Alice Coltrane's music, so I'm looking forward to hearing that. But anyway, going backwards, the shop that I went to before that was the Backtrack, and it's like a complete mess. There's stuff stacked everywhere, and I went in there, I thought, how am I gonna start looking for stuff? And I started searching through like some of the loose piles of records that are on the top, and I was just finding gem after gem after gem, and I found 2 records. I found lots of records, but I only ended up taking 2. The first one has been a bit of a bogey record for me, which is Led Zeppelin 3. I've been collecting records for over 20 years, and I found umpteen copies of Led Zeppelin 1, umpteen copies of Led Zeppelin 2, loads of copies of Led Zeppelin 4, a few copies of Presence, Houses of the Holy. Oh no, I don't have Houses of the Holy. Physical Graffiti. I've never ever found this. In fact, I was at a car boot sale once, and the woman in front of me picked up a copy of this and bought it, which was annoying. But this is in really nice condition. The wheel, you can still see works perfectly. Lovely and clean. There's a slight bit of damage on the spine there, but I think that will glue, so you probably won't notice it. I paid £30 for this, 35, which for a Plum Atlantic pressing is fine. I think that's a fair price, but I don't know whether he hadn't noticed this, but this is the version of the Peter Grant credits on it. So if you see, it's produced by Jimmy Page and executive producers Peter Grant. So it's worth much more than that. It sells for closer, probably in this condition, close to 100. Certainly well over 50. So that was a score. And then another record which I've been after for ages. It's kind of been a bit of a grail for me, and it was just sat in there, and I couldn't believe it. Which is this? Earth Groove, The Voice of Cosmic India, by Pandit Panath. It's kind of like it's two sides of basically Indian meditation music. He basically does two chants, one for, not that I don't meditate, but the music's great. One that's for meditating in the morning at sunrise, and then the second side I think is for meditating in the evening, at sunset or after sunset. This is like really rare, and it was $7.99. So yeah, complete bargains. Both items that I got at Backtrack. And anyone that watches my videos will know that I collect transatlantic stuff, and this is first UK pressing on transatlantic. Yeah, so I couldn't believe it when I saw that in there. Delighted with this. I'm sure there's plenty of VC members out there that would love to listen to this as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That was my haul. I think there's maybe 10 records. I managed to keep within budget, so I was delighted with that. Just got home last night and we went to we got off the boat at 9 o'clock at night. Well, no, we arrived home at 9 o'clock at night, and then we were out again at 10 to go to a Daft Punk tribute act, which was, I mean, compared with the real thing, they were kind of rubbish, but well, they were. But I danced all night. It was good fun. Yeah. So yes, that's it. So I'd love to hear your comments on those records. I'm filming this in the evening where I normally do it in the day. That's why the lighting's a bit weird. But yeah, take care, and if I remember, I might stick some other clips of me when I was in Edinburgh in amongst it somewhere, so you can see the kind of things that I saw. So yeah, take care, and like I said, love to hear your comments.